With the first wave of NFL free agency passing, we turn our attention to the NFL draft, which is less than 1 month away.
And we start with asking the big question: is Fernando Mendoza worthy of going first overall? Is Jeremiyah Love deserving of a top 10 pick? We'll go over some of the top headlines for this year's draft. Welcome to Birds Coast to Coast.
You're listening to Birds Coast to Coast. Here's your host, John Clark and Tanner Riddle.
We got it right that time. For those who don't know, we totally goofed on the first one. It's okay. We don't know. You don't know that. We didn't do anything wrong. All right. Welcome to Birds Coast to Coast. We're your hosts, John Clark, Tanner Riddle. Thank you so much for joining us for the 11th episode. And every episode we talk about this, it gets a little bit. We had one every single time, and I can't believe that we've done so many of these at this point. Tanner, we have already recorded, since we're so adept at making all of our episodes about an hour and a half, 90 minutes times 10. We've already recorded over 900 minutes of content. It's kind of hard to believe. But
are we any smarter for it?
No, I don't feel smarter. But anyway, so hey guys, we're here to talk to you guys about the upcoming NFL draft. We're kind of done talking about free agency because at this point it's really just like, fill-in players and players that kind of fill roles, usually vet type players that are on their second or third team at this point, and they're just kind of trying to make their money any way they can. So we turn our eyes set to the late April NFL draft. We have 4 weeks of content to cover before the draft, and then we have a big draft palooza, explosion of content during the draft. So the first 4 of these episodes will be the next 4 weeks, including today, and it'll go offense this week, defense next week, and then either the Eagles and Cardinals in whatever week we put them in for the last 2 weeks. So honestly, I'm really excited about today's episode because let's be real, the fun's always with the offense. I feel like we go to bed at night not always dreaming about the defensive tackle we draft. Well, sometimes I do after we got Jordan Davis. That guy's a freak. But most of the time, we go to bed wondering about, what receiver are we getting? Are we getting that running back? I remember, going to bed and hoping that we get Bijan Robinson. And, my heart got broken.
Remember that.
But, you want that guy. So you want that explosion. You want to buy a jersey. So, yeah, it's always great to be looking forward to some offense. So do you agree with that take, Tanner? It's more fun to draft offense than defense. What do you think about that?
Well, there's 2 reasons why I think skill players tend to be more fun in the draft than offense or defensive linemen. One is the jersey part of it. It's more fun to buy a number 1 than it would be like a number 65, right?
Yeah.
And 2, and this is definitely applies to us, when you play Madden, you always want to play with your new toy.
Oh, I know.
Kind of hard to abuse that right guard that you just took.
No, it's fantastic. And as soon as you take the receiver, you're like, what speed rating? 95.
Right.
It's like, he's gonna be so fun.
When you get in, he's like a 90. And you're like, ugh.
So we got some. We're gonna come about this podcast a little differently than most. Usually we do like a whip around the league, but to be honest, listen, guys, I can't talk about AJ Brown anymore. I'm kind of done. I can't do it. I just can't do it. Okay, I'm sorry. I have squeezed that lemon. There's nothing left. Okay, it's like one of those pop guns that goes bang, and like a little sign that says bang comes out. There's nothing left. Whether he's gonna get traded or not, and I'll wait until one of the things happens. He's either going to show up for camp or he's going to get traded. We'll let you know when either happens. Okay. But until then, I don't care. Okay. So first, anyway, we're going to talk about different topics and kind of go over, if we agree or disagree with the take. We're going to talk about the big stars of this draft. So for those who don't really follow the NFL draft closely, we're going to talk about quarterbacks. We're going to talk about running backs. We're going to talk about wide receivers. We're going to talk about offensive linemen. We're really going to talk about some of the key talking points for each of those positions, what the buzz is around the league, and really get a handle of kind of our favorite players that we're talking about and thinking about. And we'll do the same system for the defensive episode next week. So I guess the good place to start is with the signal callers because it's the most important position in football. So this year's class is headlined by basically just one quarterback, which is really really rough considering like most years there's like a solid 3 or 4 guys that you really like and could have first round ability. This year only has one. His name is Fernando Mendoza, and he's the Heisman Trophy winner. Tanner, what can you tell me a little bit about Mr. Fernando Mendoza?
If I had to try to keep it simple, he's probably a high floor guy. Maybe has a ceiling that you would probably prefer to be a little bit higher. He went to Indiana, one of the historically one of the worst football programs in the country, barring the last 2 years. Obviously, they undefeated this year, won the national championship. He won the Heisman. He transferred from Cal, so only spent 1 year at Indiana. Um, he's from Miami, so he apparently he didn't get an offer out of Miami until coming out of Cal. He was offered to transfer, but he decided he would go to Indiana, which that kind of blows my mind that that's even a like given the program's prestige for both it's pretty incredible that someone from Miami would turn Miami down to
Question:
go to Indiana.
when he had the offer to go to Miami, was Carson Beck already there? Was that like an issue?
My understanding was not yet.
Okay, so that wasn't going to be something that was going to be like, oh, if he's going there,
Like
I
a
don't want to go there.
competition thing. Nah, I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Yeah, okay, interesting. Well, so the conversation around Fernando Mendoza has been very interesting, and I think it really streamlines into like what the current meta is for today's like I guess conversation around the quarterback position. We recently saw a quarterback go to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. And I don't know if you guys know a lot about Sam Darnold, but before about 5 years ago, a lot of people thought he was a bust. And a lot of people thought, he was just kind of like a toolsy guy, couldn't put it together, wasn't all there mentally, saw ghosts. If that, people don't know what that means. It means like, he felt pressure in the pocket, but it wasn't actually there, which isn't good for a quarterback because you want to stand firm in the pocket and deliver, not be skittish and worried and throw when you don't need to. But he had a career resurrection in Seattle. And mind you, he wasn't playing like top 5 quarterback football. He was playing like top 12, like top 14 quarterback football. And that's kind of how he's like been stabilizing his career for the past like 2 or 3 years at this point. And that leads us back to Fernando Mendoza. I don't think me or Tanner really think that he's like a blue chip top 5 quarterback. Tanner, I think you and me both agree with that notion that Mendoza is not like a blue chipper. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, every draft is relative. Um, and this year, I think he's a pretty clear first overall pick worthy player. I would even say last year he probably was. But then you just go back as recent as 2024, he's probably at best the fourth best quarterback. So, you know, do I think he's the Andrew Luck or the Trevor Lawrence, John Elway type where can't miss? We knew he was going to be the first overall pick 2 years in advance. No, I don't think so. Is he better than, let's say, the Kenny Pickett draft, where he didn't go until the 16th pick? And that's kind of crazy given that if you look at how many quarterbacks actually are like traded up for or just taken as early as possible, right?
Yeah.
Like the Patriots did not have to trade up for Drake May because 2 quarterbacks went ahead of him. And
Mm-hmm.
so the Kenny Pickett thing was kind of a weird draft where he kind of fell to 16. The Steelers, I guess, took the approach if we get him, great. If we don't, then, we'll try again next year. And so, do I think he's above that level? I do. But he may not be, your traditional blue chipper like you were talking about.
Yeah. So when I see in Fernando Mendoza, he reminded me a little bit of when Joe Burrow kind of like took the college scene by storm. Like he kind
I,
of just
I
like
agree.
transferred and then just kind of lit the world on fire with his play. I don't think many people were talking about Fernando Mendoza at all before the college football season. Let me tell you guys, I am not a college football fan. I do an NFL pod, and that is it. I don't know crap about college football, at least watching it. This is the season when I start caring about it. This is the time. All right, been watching a lot of highlight videos, but
I'm
anyway,
more I'm more interested in in the college football world.
yeah,
And
Tanner's
even
more of a
I
college
wasn't
guy.
like,
Yeah.
he was not a household name.
No, he wasn't. But Indiana season, that whole just incredible run that Indiana put on just by the destroying teams, great
It
conference.
was very Joe Burrow LSU-esque.
It was like, and mind you, like Joe Burrow had like the Monstars on his offense. So like for you talking like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think they had Randy Moss's kid, and he was barely even used. So like it was a very star-studded offense, and but Joe Burrow wasn't a household name. He wasn't even like the most toolsy guy in the world. Like Joe Burrow just
I
never saw
remember
that
Joe
far.
Burrow the year before he came out was about as average as I've ever seen.
Yeah, like, and he became the first overall pick. And I'm gonna be honest, I remember feeling like about Joe Burrow the way I feel about Mendoza now. Like a guy who just plays quarterback well. He doesn't have a rocket arm. He's not super fast. Uh, he's not like, someone who's going to run someone over. He just plays the quarterback position well. And I'm struggling because right now I know that Burrow is like a top five guy, and I'm like, oh, Mendoza can't be a top five guy. I just said he's not a blue chipper, but I think Burrow's a blue chipper now. You know what I mean? And I guess it comes back to the question: is the floor of Mendoza worth that first overall pick? I see him as a guy whose floor is like a Jared Goff, and I think in today's NFL, I think that's fine. Jared Goff wins. The Jared Goffs of the world, the Sam Darnolds of the world, they are completely capable of taking you to the Super Bowl and winning it. It's just a matter of putting a good team around them. I mean, look, I'm an Eagles fan. Hand up, Jalen Hurts. Is he the most athletic freak of nature in the world? No, but we won a
Pretty
Super Bowl
freaky.
with him. You know what I mean? We won a Super Bowl with him. He's not the most talented quarterback in the world, but we put a team around him and we won a Super Bowl. So I do think Mendoza is worth the first overall pick. I think the dude has a lot of moxie. I think he played well within the system. I think he played up to the big moments of the game, and he didn't shrink in the big lights against the best teams in the playoffs. He just kept sticking his nose to the grindstone and worked and just kicked everyone else's butt. So yeah, I think he'll fit right into an NFL system, and I'm expecting good things. Am I expecting top five play? No, no. Honestly, I don't know how you can expect that of any rookie quarterback. Like, we expected that of Andrew Luck. And let's be real, was he ever really a top five quarterback? Like supplant, like absolutely top five, top three type guy? I don't think he really ever was like cemented in that
No, because
era.
think about the guys he played with. There was Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Maybe we put like Big Ben, Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Um, Drew Brees was still playing. Uh, who else? Philip Rivers. It was probably a little bit later in his career. To say something like easily top five. No. Did he have top five moments, weeks,
Yeah.
even months? Yeah, I think
We
he
can, we
did.
can do this with a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, you
Yeah.
could say like Trevor Lawrence. God, how long, dude? I heard about Trevor Lawrence when he was in high school. Like he was like the next, like he was like LeBron James, surfer Jesus LeBron James looking guy of
He
football.
was Sunshine from Remember the Titans.
And here we go. He comes into the league, and for the first 3 years of his career, 4 years. I don't know how long he's been in the league, about 4 or 5 years. He's been fine. Like he's been fine. He's been fine. He's not been top five, but let me tell you. So like the anointment of like this guy's gonna be like the next great quarterback. It doesn't always happen. I mean, even Patrick Mahomes wasn't even a top five pick. Josh
I had
Allen.
my reservations.
What was Josh Allen?
He was just a ball of clay.
No, I mean, what pick was he?
Oh, seventh overall.
That's what I'm
He
saying. Like,
was he the third? Yeah, I think he was third.
look at
Third
Lamar,
quarterback.
32nd overall pick. The three, I would say the three kind of undisputed guys right now are in the top three of the league are Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. None of those guys went in the top five.
My favorite, Lamar. The Ravens even passed on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, because we had to pick 32. The Eagles had the 32nd pick. It was a 2018 draft. And we traded,
Yep.
I waited all night long, and we traded the pick. So, fun thing to do.
I was right there with you.
Wait until pick number 32, and then it's like, oh, the Ravens are on the clock. Well, good thing we won the Super Bowl because this was a waste of time. So that was that was interesting. So I hope the Raiders pick them. I don't know if they're necessary. I think they're doing a concerted effort to kind of bolster their offensive line. I think they signed Linderbaum or Lindenbaum,
Yep.
whatever. Yeah. So they're trying to boost that offensive line because it was horrendous last year. And I'm an Ashton Genty fantasy owner. Let me tell you, that line sucked. So, like, you just can't throw a rookie quarterback back there with no offensive line. You're going to get him Derek Card. I think, no, not Derek Card, David Card. That's even worse. So, and so who knows? But, I think they're trying to do right by him eventually being there. And, it would be great if he had a nice veteran receiver to throw to, like AJ Brown. But anyway, I promised I wouldn't talk about AJ Brown.
I want to go back to your like comp and what you would expect from Mendoza, or even what you would expect just from a first overall pick. And you compared him to Jared Goff, and you kind of were asking, is that good enough for a first overall pick? I think the general consensus is that it probably is not. You tell me if I'm wrong. I think most people would be. I think if the Raiders were told they were going to get, like a rookie Jared Goff, and his career arc is exactly what you would expect from Mendoza, I feel like most Raider fans would say, no, I don't want that.
Well, here's the
But
problem. Jared Goff's take time to develop. Jared Goff with Jeff Fisher looked like the worst quarterback in the history of the NFL. I remember that 2016 draft and thinking we
it was
got out
bad.
like bandits and taking Carson Wentz. I was like, oh my God, Goff looks terrible. Like we hit this on the jackpot. It makes me wonder in this league of hyper win now coaches and short leashes for uh, coaches and quarterbacks. Do we exist in an NFL today where the Jared Goffs don't get the time to develop? Do the Sam Darnolds get the time to develop? Sam Darnold has developed into a top 10-ish quarterback, and he's on his like what, fourth team? Yeah, fifth
I think
team.
he's on fifth. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it would be. Will I take a Jared Goff? I would, but you know who's not paying? You know who's not enjoying the Jared Goff of today? It's the Rams, but they did end up getting Matt Stafford, but that's just because they ended up trading, and that's what they did.
They did go to
But
a Super Bowl with him.
yeah, so yeah, they did. They actually did. Yeah, so like whether the Raiders get to enjoy the fruits of Mendoza, or if he doesn't develop quick enough and they cut bait, maybe he turns into one of those Sam Darnolds who bounces around and ends up being a good player elsewhere. So I don't know. Maybe it will end up better. It's kind of like Baker Mayfield. All those quarterbacks, man, like the Bakers, the Darnolds. You know what I mean? They're all just floating around back there and becoming entrenched in new locations and playing solid ball. So could he end up like one of those kind of quarterbacks?
I
Absolutely.
think I think there's a key caveat with, if you have the patience to allow a guy to develop more than 2 years, because clearly when you look at Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, those type of guys, yeah, ask the Giants, did they get what they wanted out of Daniel Jones, or ask the
The
Jets
Jets,
or the Panthers or whoever else that had Sam
Browns,
Darnold and all
yeah,
these
Baker
Baker,
Mayfield.
and even the Browns made the playoffs one year, which actually that's kind of heroic in itself with Baker. Sure, those first teams would not look back and be like, "Now, yeah, that was worth it." No, he's good with someone else. So it's just kind of like, for this argument, assume that the team's going to have the patience to give them 4 to 6 years. If you look at the teams that are being built around those guys, I think they've proven that they're good enough to where you can still have the forecasting ability to build a roster around these guys and trust, I am good enough at quarterback. I don't have to spend any additional capital at this position. I can solely build up the offensive line. I can solely build up the defense. I can get this guy creative weapons around him. And so that's kind of my barrier, the bar that I use on, should I take a guy in the top five or not. I feel like, and I can be guilty of this too, we want the high upside guys
Of
with the
course.
first over. We want Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes.
But you know what that turns into? Trey
Well,
Lance
one,
and
only one of those guys went first overall,
yeah.
right? But two, other than Pat Mahomes, how many Super Bowls do these guys have? How many conference championship games do these guys have? Like relatively, I
Oh,
guess
now
they're
you're
all
talking my language. Oh, I see what
now.
you're
Now,
saying.
hold on. To be fair, the four guys that I mentioned, they're all
Who
in the
needs talent?
AFC. They're all in the AFC, so there's only two slots each year, I guess. But we're chasing this quarterback where just in my four examples, only a quarter of them have actually reached the promised land. So it's don't get me wrong, I would love any of those four quarterbacks. I mean, Cardinals are we can't be picky here, but it's not as easy to build around these guys as you may think it is. So the bar should be a little bit lower of what you should be willing to take, I guess, for the first pick.
That's very interesting how you're like, yeah, look, Lamar has what has Lamar won? What has Josh Allen won? And what has Joe Burrow won? And they're just like, consensus top
Burrow
five
made a Super
quarterbacks.
Bowl in year two, which
Yeah,
that's impressive. And there are a handful, I think. What does Lamar have one conference title game appearance?
yeah, I think he
Josh
does.
Allen has two. Burrow has two, I think. One of them he won.
They just run into each other. They
But
all just run into each other and
honestly,
knock each other out.
those two appearances, are those the only two for Burrow? Like it's been very in terms of making the playoffs. They've been inconsistent. They're not a consistent playoff team every year.
No, they're really
Shoot,
not because their team is
even
just
the
so poorly
Ravens
constructed.
missed out last year.
Yeah, yeah, they're poorly constructed too about how they do their draft philosophy. I watched a Brett Coleman video on that. They just rely on an endless cycle of
Well,
4 year
I feel like
contracts.
they had a good run of a solid roster for like what 5 to 7 years. Like you could always count on them having a top seven roster,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of that talent slowly but surely left, and so I don't think the roster is as talented as we were used to.
All right. So I think we got a pretty good handle of where Fernando Mendoza is. And honestly, guys, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, that's about it for the quarterback class. like there's
Well,
really not
it
much
might
going
it
on.
might be, it might not, which is a little nerve-wracking for me as a Cardinals fan because I think we may be the betting odds favorite to get the next quarterback.
Well, tell me a little bit about him then, Mr. Ty Simpson, because honestly, like at that point, it kind of leads into the next question. Like, should the Cardinals go with Ty Simpson or should they just go with the best player available? I know we talked about it a little bit, but this is the day we talk about the offensive draft. So, at the end of the day, Ty Simpson, floor is yours. Tell me about him, Mr. Future Quarterback for the Cardinals. Who is he?
So he's quarterback from Alabama. He
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
those are
he was
great
the
quarterbacks
starter.
usually.
Yeah, he was the starter for this year, and really for only this year. He only had 14 or 15 career starts. Uh, he had the chance to go back to college, and apparently there's rumors that Miami offered up to $6.5 million in NIL for him, which that would easily be number one. But he chose to declare this year. It was an interesting choice because for his for the longevity purposes, I feel like it would have been very beneficial for him to go back to college, whether it was back to Alabama or somewhere else. If you look at the history of guys who have like less than or 15 or less starts, it's not very good. I think
Mhm.
honestly the best example is probably Cam Newton, and I don't want to poo-poo on Cam Newton because he won an MVP, made it to a Super Bowl, but he also wasn't very consistent either when it came to making the playoffs or just being consistent as a quarterback. So his career start numbers that makes me nervous. From a measurement standpoint, I don't think he's really anything too special. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", if you ask the right person. He did have some injury issues this year. I would say after the first 8 or so games, if you were to ask the draft community, I think he may have been the favorite to go first overall, even over Mendoza.
Really?
Yeah,
I guess before Mendoza went off, yeah.
yeah. And then about 2 months into the season, I think he had a rib injury, and you could kind of clearly see the level of play come down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't, your uncle's Alabama team. This is not Nick Saban. There was zero running game, which seems just unheard
Wow.
of for Alabama. I think I heard it the other day. Alabama running backs, just guess how many, I'll just tell you. They average 78 yards a game as a team from running backs.
Whoa, as a
Like
team.
that it's insanely low. And so what he was asked to do was more than most quarterbacks from Alabama are asked to do.
That's
But
interesting.
apparently the tape from the first 2 months of the season was very good. So he's only got what, 2/3, 3/4 of good tape, and it's only one season. I would say he's average measurements wise, height, weight, and he did have to deal with some injuries that leave uh, scouts kind of wondering, okay, like what do we believe more in? Do we believe more in the first, 2/3 of the season, or what? So he's an interesting prospect. I think the decision to come out, I think, had a lot to do with the level of quarterback competition in this class, meaning it
Yeah.
wasn't as good as others. There's a chance where if he were to come back, and even if he were to do well, he may only be like a third rounder in next year's draft, just because the expectation of how strong next year's class can be. But because it's this year's class, I mean, he could go somewhere. I think he could go as high as like middle of the first round because of that.
Interesting.
So I don't know, like it for his benefit. I feel like going back to school would have helped. And we talk about the money aspect. I don't think he's making $6.5 million if he gets drafted, even in the late first. So I kind of hate that he chose to come out this year, but that was his decision. But we'll see. I do think the Cardinals probably will at least consider trading up into the first round if the price is right.
You mean
And so
trading back
we'll see.
into the first round?
Yeah, trading back into the first. I don't think he's an option at all at number 3.
Okay, because I see him at ranked number 33 overall, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I ain't taking
that
him at
seems
the
about
Cardinals.
right.
Like, I'm not going that high.
Well, here's what's interesting about him specifically, and because there's a lot of talk about, okay, would you take him at 34 overall? Would you move up into the late in the first round to take him? Would you, like, what kind of draft capital are you willing to part ways with when next year's class appears to be so good? Would you even take him at 34? Would you just completely punt on the position altogether? What's interesting is the first 3 teams with picks, the Raiders, Jets, Cardinals, all have massive quarterback needs. Raiders, just you throw them aside. They're taking Mendoza. They're good. The Jets have just as much of a quarterback need as we do. They have the 2nd, 16th, and 33rd pick. I know the question is asked, would you take them 34th overall? And maybe the Jets aren't the best team to judge on, given their history with quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But there would be a scenario where the Jets have an equal need at quarterback, and they, in this scenario, passed on him 3 different times. Why would we take him at 34 if a team with equal need at quarterback pass on him 3 times?
Because they want Arch Manning next year.
But then wouldn't we?
Well,
Or
I
do
mean,
we
maybe like
have?
maybe
They
well
have the
maybe you
draft
like
capital,
maybe you like Ty Simpson.
right? But I understand you can't always just be like, oh, it's the Jets. If they don't like him, then he must be really good. Sure, you could take that approach. I don't quite think we can. I don't think that's too wise to do. But I would have, like, okay, if you have any humility, what do the Jets know that we might not know for them to pass on them 3 times? And they have the luxury of having 2 first-round picks. So they could take 2 first-round picks, take them at 33, and feel like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't want to just, like, burn these picks, but it's a shot in the dark. Like,
Yeah, maybe
let's
he's
let's,
good.
let's see. Like, we'll give him a chance this year and give him a chance to say why we don't need Arch Manning, Sam Levitt, all these quarterbacks next year.
Yeah, so my thoughts on it, I feel like you guys are pretty entrenched in taking the best player available at the first round pick. I mean, you guys just have to. I mean, Ty Simpson would be way too much of a stretch, in my opinion. It would almost remind me of when like Mitch Trubisky went because like
Very.
I
Oh, I
remember,
like that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
like
good
Mitch
comp.
Trubisky was a guy who was like I don't he was a very late fast riser. Like he all of a sudden, yeah, Trubisky's gonna go top five. I'm like, what? Like, is he? Like, why? So
Shoot, I'd probably be like Trubisky more. Again, you can't. You,
and
you got to
didn't
judge
Trubisky
him
also play one
before.
year in
He was
like
also a 1 year guy.
very similar, very similar, and it's and I think that could be exactly his career path. Honestly, I think that could kind of be where he ends up, what ends up happening, because it does seem like Trubisky wasn't necessarily like as toolsy. Well, I guess
Sorry,
well no,
I really like this comp. This actually makes a lot of sense.
I like the Trubisky comp. You know what? Let's stamp it now. You know, he's the next Mitch Trubisky. Let's just to say that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't want to over analyze this. Go get you an Arvell Reese. Go get you a Ruben Bain.
Ooh,
Go.
did you see Arvell Reese today at his
Oh
pro
yeah,
day?
I saw. Yeah, I'm still looking at him turn the corner. He's taking that long to turn it. He's still
That looked
doing it.
like an off-ball linebacker if I've ever seen one.
I know. And I'm looking and it's like he's
uh,
ranked fourth. I'm like, are we sure these edge rankings are right? Stay tuned for next week's
maybe
podcast,
he
guys.
really doesn't. He was afraid he was going to the Jets.
Let me
He
just turn
tanked
this
his
real
draft
slowly.
stock.
Yeah, so that's defense though. So we'll dive
Yeah.
into those guys next week. But no, yeah, I'm pretty solidly entrenched of the Cardinals taking the best player available, and then maybe
Where
trending back.
I want to take the best non-quarterback at number 3.
Okay, so our next topic is a guy who, again, is an option for the Cardinals. Hey, you know what? When you're that bad, you have so many options, baby, so many options. But when you have a running back who is as highly touted as this year's number one, ranked running back. His name is Jeremiyah Love. He is very, very elusive running back. He's good in open field. He's very, very shifty. And right now, after the combine, he's definitely kind of skyrocketed into like top 5, top 10 conversations. And I guess the question is he worth a top 10 pick? And I guess the broader sense is, since he is kind of like, in my opinion, a blue chip running back, like, so I'm just going to kind of like flatline it and say, like, well, if he's a top 10, then is any top 10 or any blue chip running back worth a top 10 pick? I'm going to say that my opinion on this has changed. Um, I was someone who said back in the day, yes, he is. But I will put it at a caveat. And this is so like Eagles privileged. Um, when we had the top 10 pick for Jalen Carter or whatever the Jalen Carter draft, I was very much wanting Bijan Robinson. And you may be wondering, John, you just said, or you're thinking about it. Why were you changing your mind? Well, I think it only applies to teams who are good in the top 10. You're wondering, why is that happening? Well, because sometimes you get a first round pick from a team and they end up sucking. So like, and you end up having a good year. So they might not, be a bad team in the top 10, which leads me to my conclusion. If you are a standard top 10 picking team and you have a running back who's very good, stay away from him. Because what ends up happening is Saquon Barkley happens, Bijan Robinson happens. Or in worst case scenario, when it doesn't pan out, Trent Richardson happens. Because, he might not even be that good. And then you still suck, like the Browns. So I don't love the idea of taking a running back in the top 10. I feel like when you do that, they don't move the needle when you're on as bad as a team as you are, as much as you need to. You need to supply your team with the substance, with the foundation, with the defensive line, with the offensive line, with the quarterback, and then the running back can be the cherry on top. That's the elusive, dynamic player that hits the home runs. You cannot set your team back when you have a top 5 pick 3 years because you fell in love with the Corvette when you can't even make your credit card payments. So, like, you need to be able to be rational, make the smart economic choices. And if you are not having your timeline lined up with that, it doesn't make sense. Running back shelf lives are small, 3 to 5 years. And if you're in the top 10, do you really think you're going to turn things around that quickly? Probably not, especially if you're not taking a quarterback. So, I don't know. I'm going to say no. I don't think they are worth the top 10 pick. Even if they're like the best, even if they're Saquon, I think you're just wasting their career and then they're going to go to the Eagles and win a Super Bowl. Because honestly, that's what's going to happen with Bijan. Like, they're having fine years in Atlanta. Fine. Okay years. He's not changing life down there. He's great to watch. He's a fun fantasy player. He's an amazing fantasy player. He's not moving the needle. He's not generating wins. He's not. So, what do you think?
I hate to agree, but I'm kind of right there with you.
Dang,
Um,
I thought you were, oh, I thought you didn't agree. Dang, I guess it changed your mind.
no, I mean, like you made some good points. I mean, first off, the idea of hey, you shouldn't really invest highly in a running back unless your team is like prepared, like mature enough to actually handle taking on a running back, because everything else is taken care of. But the reality is, if you're in the top 10, what are the chances that happens? It takes unique circumstances where Pat Mahomes, tears his ACL somewhat through the middle of the season, and they kind of fall into what are they, the ninth overall pick?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, no one's saying that they can't handle it. They have their quarterback for the next 10 years, probably. They got pieces here and there that they don't. It's not their best roster, probably, but you know they probably got a stronger foundation than most. Um, and even so, you could argue like Travis Kelsey, might be on his last year. The wide receiver group, like seems to be year to year at this point. Having to make, you got two expensive offensive linemen at center and guard at the top of the market. You just traded away Trent McDuffie because you're having to project, salary cap space, and he's clearly a great player, but because of salary cap, you have to, pick and choose. And so even for a team like the Chiefs, I think you have to think about, is this the wisest use of our resources? And you have to think about draft picks as like a commodity. It's not just a player, but it's like, what am I trading in place of this? The second
Yeah.
you take a guy, say ninth overall, I'm using the Chiefs because honestly, I think they probably make the most sense, even though they just signed Kenneth Walker. They're not taking Jeremiah Love, but they're the best example in the top 10, in my opinion, where like the second you draft Jeremiah Love, he's already a top 10 highest paid running back. So you're not really getting that economic advantage of,
Yeah.
hey,
Rookie
even if he
contract.
is a top 5 running back, look at the surplus value we're getting because, we're saving 20-30 million dollars a year on him. So that's one way to look at this. And so I just think I find it very practically impossible for both the need and the team where it needs to be to line up to where it makes sense to take a guy in the top 10.
All right. That being
Uh,
said, should the Cardinals take Jeremiah Love in the top 10?
no, we can, we aren't in. We would be the New York Giants. The Giants, they did not have a quarter. Wait, hold on. Actually, I don't think they didn't have Daniel Jones at the time. This was in 2018. They
Mm-hmm.
took Daniel Jones 2019. So as great as that draft class was for quarterbacks, I mean, the only guy that they didn't have a chance at was Baker. But like they passed on Josh Allen, they passed on Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson. Again, we didn't know how big of a bust he would be, but Josh Rosen, like it just felt irresponsible. And so I actually have a list of all the top 10 running backs taken within the
Oh,
last 20
wow.
years. And this goes back to 2005. So you kind of tell me what you think. Fifth overall,
Wait, wait, wait,
Cadillac
wait, wait,
Williams.
wait, 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 wait. So before you start, how about this? I'll do like like a hit or miss.
Okay.
All right.
2005, Cadillac Williams, 5th
Hit.
overall to the Buccaneers.
Wait. So, okay, so here's the problem. Is it hit as in he performed or hit as in it was a good like move for them with
I
their
think you
team? That's
gotta have
tough.
a bit of a hybrid. Where I say we look at it from the team perspective, because he actually, like, especially his rookie year, didn't he like absolutely pop off? Like, he was awesome. But
Okay.
what did
How
the
about this?
Buccaneers have to show for it after
So how
that?
about this? We'll talk about did this player lead to extended team success?
Or that, or would the Buccaneers draft this player again,
Okay.
knowing what they know now?
All right, go ahead.
So 05, Cadillac Williams, 5th
I'll say
overall.
no. I'll say no hit.
I
Miss.
would agree. Same year, 4th overall. This is a fun draft, I guess. Cedric Benson to the Bears.
Miss.
Same year, Ronnie Brown, 2nd overall to the Dolphins. We had 3 guys.
Well,
in
here's the thing. Here's the thing. This really shows how the NFL draft philosophy has changed. Also, miss.
Can you imagine this? Like, try to picture this year's draft having 3 running backs. We're talking about if one guy who
Yeah.
arguably is like a no doubter blue chipper should even go in the top 10.
Yeah.
2 of these guys were teammates in college.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. All right, the next year, 06, Reggie Bush, 2nd overall to the Saints.
I'm going to say his career with the Saints was not as good as people remember. I'm going to say miss.
I probably would. We'd have to go back and see like the opportunity cost, who else was available. I don't think he was a bust. But if we're going to word it in a way where, would you do this again?
He was a legend in college.
Right.
Like, his hype was huge. I'm going to say from his hype and what he did and what they delivered. Did he win a Super Bowl with the Saints?
Yes.
Oh, so now I have to factor that in. You know what? I'll say wash. I'll say wash.
Okay, I think that's fair. Here we go. We like this one. 2007, Adrian Peterson, 7th overall to the Vikings. 2 picks after the Cardinals take right tackle Levi Brown, because right tackle was Matt Liner's blindside.
I'm going to say hit just because he was very good and they had team success. Like, they were pretty good.
I don't know how the Vikings say, nah, we shouldn't have done that.
No, yeah.
And that's a definite hit. 2008, Darren McFadden, 4th overall, Raiders.
Miss.
2010, CJ Spiller, 9th to the Bills. Miss. Here, I got to counter to this one because I think I know what you're going to say. You mentioned him earlier, actually. 2012, Trent Richardson, 3rd to the Browns.
Miss.
You say that, I understand, but the bigger miss, I think, is actually the Colts, who traded a first-round pick for Trent Richardson later. So the Browns were able to like turn it around and be like, hold on a second, like, you're offering a first? We can kind of like, it was like a low 20s pick, or I guess an early 20s pick. So obviously, like, that's not what you want out of the 3rd overall pick. But the bigger miss, I think, in a way, was actually the Colts trading a first-round pick.
And they were like, I don't think he's that good.
Yeah. Where there's a kind of a rule of thumb: fail fast, meaning make a mistake, make it quick, and move on.
Yep.
I actually credit the Browns there. Then we go a couple years after that, 2015. This is an interesting one. Todd Gurley, 10th overall.
I'm gonna say hit, just because
I'm gonna say hit as well. Okay, I thought you'd be more critical.
And they had success in the playoffs. I think that he did kind of move the needle and make them a better team long run.
Okay. I think you'll say hit for this one, but I think there's gonna be some caveats here. 2016. Ezekiel Elliott, 4th overall to the Cowboys. Hard. Okay, I say why there's a little bit more to talk about here. Adding on the 2nd contract, I think, really hurts their thought process here. And under his rookie contract, I think he was a hit. You could say, well, they could have taken someone else better after that. He was very productive.
Yeah.
The offense ran. He was the heart, or he was the engine, in my opinion. Dak wasn't what he is now. Dak was more of like he was like a
Game
trailer.
manager.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was the trailer, and I think Zeke was the tractor.
Yeah.
And so
I'll say
I
hit.
think I think I think it's that second contract, man, that really was like they put themselves in a corner where they felt like they had to pay him
Yeah.
what they did. I still
No,
would
Zeke
lean
was
towards
good.
hit. I think I would lean towards hit
Yeah.
because I don't think the idea is that everyone has to be a 10-year player. Someone even said, we throw around this, oh, he's going to start for you for 10 years. We just kind of throw it around like that's a big deal. Luke Kuechly, who just got into the Hall of Fame, only played for 8 years. You
That's
think the
crazy to me.
Panthers regret
Wow.
taking Luke Kuechly? Like, no, not at all.
Yeah.
This idea that like 10 years is like some, easily achievable thing, not at all. I will say though, now we're getting within the last 10-year range. This is interesting to me because I'm going to say the teams did a little bit better here. 2017, Christian McCaffrey went 8th overall to the Panthers.
Like the
Here's
first.
that quarterback thing we were talking about. Did the Panthers get? I'm going to try and judge it over the player's career, and did the team fairly evaluate the player, whether the first team actually got all the benefits from it. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because did the Panthers really get, was the 4 years with McCaffrey or however long it was worth the 8th overall pick? He was awesome, and he was awesome pretty early. And yes, they did get to recruit some picks in return when
They
you
did go
trade.
to the Super Bowl.
Did they go to the? Did McCaffrey go to the Super Bowl?
That was with Cam, right?
I think you might be right.
Yeah, he went. Yeah, that was the Broncos Super Bowl, right?
I guess I was just thinking of like Jonathan Stewart was a big part of that.
Was he?
No, because that
What?
was the 2015 season. So okay, so the Panthers went to the Super Bowl in 2015, and the 2 years
Oh,
before and after they actually were under 500.
okay. So
So
that
they went
wasn't the.
like
Okay, so that wasn't the
seven
CMC
and
one.
nine, 15-1, and 8-8.
So
And
that
like that
wasn't the
15 and
Christian.
1 just like
So
sticks
that wasn't
out.
the Christian
He wasn't
McCaffrey year.
drafted until 2017, actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so McCaffrey was
Wow.
not
I
part of
I
that.
totally remembered him being there. Okay, I guess not. Interesting. I'm sorry. Wow. All right. All my memory is getting messed up because I remember
The
Cam was there.
Cardinals, the Panthers beat the Cardinals in 2015, and so I know exactly that year that the Panthers went to the Super
Gotcha.
Bowl.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So you know what? Then no, that was post. That was post Panthers relevancy. So I'm gonna say miss for the Panthers.
Interesting. I will say, it was a hit because even though I laid out that they only got say the first 4 years of his career, I still think he was a good player. They were able to identify good talent. He made the team better. And even when they traded him, I believe they got a second, a third, and a fourth round pick in return.
But I guess that's the crux of my argument when I go back to it. Like, did he
If
make
he
the
was
team?
good
Like,
enough,
I think every good running back is going to make a team better. But was the team good enough at the point to be worth taking him in the top five? I would say no, because like he didn't get them anywhere. He was just a good fantasy player. I think that's the exact argument that I'm trying to make.
they were 1 year removed from going to the Super Bowl. And so I'm thinking trying like if we could put ourselves in that moment. You were what 14, 15 months away from losing a Super Bowl as a favorite. They actually feel like they're closer to that current Kansas City Chiefs situation where they're like, "Hey, we're not always going to be in the like we're in a better spot than most 8th
Was
overall
it
pick
because
teams."
Cam got hurt? Why did they
I
pick so
think it was
low?
just more inconsistency. I mean, that's to me that's the name of the game for Cam is he just had very high highs, but they were just too far and in between.
Interesting. I don't know. All right, I guess we just disagree on that. What's the next guy before we get stuck on CMC? What's the
Yeah,
next guy?
2017, that same year, Leonard Fournette, 4th overall. I think we can probably agree. No, that was a miss.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, this is the fun one. 2018, Saquon Barkley, second to the Giants.
Nope. Nope. This is the whole
I'm
reason
trying
I
to
have
be
this.
consistent. I'm trying to be consistent here because if this one, it feels like exactly like Christian McCaffrey, but yet I almost want to hold the Giants more responsible because they didn't have an MVP quarterback. The Panthers did. And I don't think a ton of quarterbacks went after Christian McCaffrey that easily could have improved the team for the Panthers.
Yeah.
The Giants did. They didn't have a chance at Baker, but they passed up on Darnold. They passed up on Josh Allen. They passed up on Lamar Jackson. Like it was, and then they let him walk for free. At least the Panthers traded McCaffrey to San Francisco and got picks in return.
Yeah.
So this has to be a miss. The player himself is great. Like that's not disputed in any way. But from the Giants thought perspective, they had they didn't even take Daniel Jones until the next year.
Yeah, they just wanted
So
the best player and just say, we got a running back. We're good.
if Sebastian Janikowski was in this draft, given the Giants' logic, I think was it Dave Gettleman could have told himself he's just the best player. And he may have gone second overall. I know that's an extreme example, but that is the process that he took in that draft.
No, it is.
I have to. You let him walk after 5. I think because did they not tag him for 1 year? So
Yeah,
you let
they
him
put him
walk
in
for free.
franchise tag hell for a little bit.
You let him walk for free after 5 years. Did they actually? I'm not sure they don't. I don't think they had a playoff appearance, did they? Or did they? Was that the Florida boat incident? Do you remember
No, they
that
did
with
have
the
a playoff.
Giants?
No, they had a playoff appearance. It was
They
against
had
the
one.
Eagles.
Okay.
It was against. Well, yes, it was against they beat the Vikings. It was the Daniel Jones Vikings road win, and then they
That's
went
right.
to the
That's
and then
fair.
they went to the Eagles in 2022 and got smashed. So that was that 2022 Eagles run to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Okay. To be fair, I wasn't quite aware that they had 2 appearances in the playoffs. I still don't think that justifies their decision.
Yeah,
Um, that one's just frustrating to me. I feel like he is this is the best example of the arguments that we're making. The player is great. No one missed on Saquon Barkley, but the team wasn't ready for that.
yes.
And so it's like, what was the point? To sell jerseys so your fans could play with them on Madden? I just, I don't know, man. It's easy for the Eagles to look back and be like, yeah, he was worth it. But you guys didn't have to pay that price that the Giants had to. There wasn't an opportunity cost there that the Eagles were like, I don't know if we do Barkley, what else are we missing here? No, it was just a matter of we have an opportunity to sign to a very team friendly deal for 3 years. No draft compensation. We're just going to sign him. We have everything else in place that we like. And we think he is a cherry on top.
Yeah, he's
So
just a cherry.
I'm frustrated with that pick for the Giants.
So I guess the question is, should we just fast forward to Jeremiah Love and just say, does he fit that?
Well, there's actually one last one. I know we were on 2018. The last one was Bijan Robinson, 8th to the Falcons. You lightly mentioned been a great player, but what has that really resulted in?
It's
Have they even
similar.
had a single winning season? I don't think they have.
I don't think they have either.
So, and right now, their quarterbacks are Michael Penix and Tua. And so,
And Kirk still.
was he not officially released?
Oh, he was. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so.
And even so, it's like the quarterback room is a complete unknown. We don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Tua's a huge question mark. He's super cheap, but is he really someone you have long-term future aspirations with? Michael Penix, you took 8th overall. He's torn every ACL that there is possible. And again, same question, long-term. It's just I don't know. What were their options in that draft where they could have considered other options?
Could have went Jalen.
So then it comes, I think, now to where you're trying to hint at. Where does Jeremiah Love fall within that? I think he's on the. I probably had Saquon as like a higher prospect. I definitely had Saquon. I thought most highly of. I really liked McCaffrey. Other than that, like I think Jeremiah Love could probably slot right behind those two guys.
Wow. Okay.
I'm
Sounds
pretty
like
high
someone.
on Jeremiah Love.
He sounds like
So,
he sounds like someone who has the first overall pick in Dynasty. That's what he sounds like. Wow.
oh, that's just a coincidence.
I bet it is,
And
buddy.
so the question is, well, one way to look at it is if Bijan went eighth, Leonard Fournette went fourth, and Zeke went fourth. Well, then yeah, Jeremiah Love should be worthy of a top 10 pick if he's a better prospect than those guys, and those guys went in the top 10. Um, but I think this is more like a strategic thing. I don't think there's a fit for him that makes sense, especially given how free agency went.
Yeah.
Saints paid a lot of money for Travis Achan, right?
That does not sound right. You're the
It,
first one to actually
I
say it out loud.
I strained. No, there was hesitation there. I had to strain to say that.
For people who aren't knowing exactly what Tanner's talking about, no, he didn't confuse him with Devon Achan. He actually said Travis Achan. That still is making me have like a hernia thinking about that. But no, it's actually Travis Etienne, who we've pronounced his name that way for his entire career. But it's been wrong. So it's Achan. Apparently, like the TIE kind of creates like a ch sound. So
It's so
didn't
I
know
think
that.
the origin, just not to go too off topic, the origins I think are French,
Makes sense.
and then there's he's from Louisiana, and so it was a bit of a homecoming. So I think between the French and the Louisiana accent, it somehow came out Achan.
That's great. I'm excited for that to
I
be
mean,
more
I
pronounced.
don't. That's the best I can explain it. Um,
Anyway, yeah,
but yeah,
I like.
the two spots that you would expect that the teams would be probably most prepared to handle a running back early spent good money in free agency on it. So it's leaving teams like I still struggle to really say the Cardinals, but like the Cardinals maybe the Titans maybe they took their quarterback last year. I think they have enough question marks elsewhere to that could also help Cam Ward. I wouldn't do it. Could the Giants, do it? Scatterboo, he had a pretty harsh injury last year. Is he enough to keep you away? I mean, the Browns aren't going to do it. Who's at number 7? The Commanders could do it maybe, but I feel like the Commanders might have the best argument. Um, I don't know. I overall this whole conversation started. Is he worth a top 10 pick? I think you could say he's just as good as some of those other guys are, but just from like a strategic standpoint, I would not probably take him
Yeah,
in the top 10.
yeah, it makes sense. So I guess the last topic we want to do before we jump into our extra points is the idea that the Eagles have been really, really focusing on being a young, cheap defensive team. And I guess the question mark is, do we continue to the move forward with this draft philosophy as can just keep drafting young defensive players and stay cheap there? Because we do have holes there in the offseason. A lot of players left. We don't have a safety right now that's going to be viable very like long term. Our edge is very thin after Jalen Phillips leaving. Or do we turn our eyes to the offense? And the reason why I say that is because the defense is really young and cheap right now. Eventually, they're not going to be cheap. We just signed Jordan Davis, and he was like mega thunder contract for these young players that we drafted in the past 5 years. Gave him the largest nose tackle contract in NFL history, which I was blown away by. Now, great player. Wish he got in the quarterback more, but great player, great year. Definitely had a fantastic breakout season. But that's the first contract of a long line of contracts that are going to be going to the defensive side of the ball. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, maybe Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, to name a few. All right. So we have all that money tied up right now on offense, but eventually those defenders are going to have to get paid. And you can't pay everyone. You just can't. Especially when all of our offensive line has like been locked up multi-year deals. Both our receivers are making $25+ million a year. Saquon's, hemorrhaging money because they just love to throw money at him. Jalen's probably going to get a new contract extension soon. He's the quarterback. So that's an expensive offense. And they're not really really playing up to their potential, for what they're getting paid. Eventually we're going to have to shed some contracts on offense and give that money to the defense, because right now this is a defense-led team, and these contracts are going to be really expensive on the defensive side of the ball. Like Quinyon Mitchell is going to be setting the market for a corner. Cooper DeJean is going to be an odd case because he plays slot. I don't know how they're going to make that work with his contract, but I'm sure he'll get top of the line money as well. And we're going to have to start making decisions on offense, and that means we're probably going to have to get cheaper, and you get cheaper by drafting. So the question becomes, do we satisfy the positional needs on defense, or do we get ahead of the curve and start trying to get cheaper on offense? I think we need to start getting cheaper on offense while we still have Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio is someone who's going to be able to make basically lemonade out of lemons. You know what I mean? As much as you can. And we have a talented defense for sure. And even though we have some glaring holes on defense, I don't think they're going to necessarily need to be filled by someone who's like a rookie right now. We can go find a veteran who's really cheap and play that role. And in the meantime, we need to start hammering positional need at offense, because a lot of these offensive linemen are starting to get old. Some of them are like falling apart. Cam Jurgens apparently, and Landon Dickerson, they went ahead and went to Columbia and had some sort of spinal fluid transfusion or something to try to get their bodies corrected after these rough seasons they've had. Don't know how they had such rough injuries. I wonder if it was never mind. But yeah, but anyway, they're
Nothing in particular.
No, nothing crazy happened between now and the last couple of years. Nothing involving the tush push. But anyway, they're fine. They're completely no. So, but they're considering retirement early. They're always considering that as a thing in their back pocket. So I just wonder if hey, should we start targeting these positions? AJ Brown, again, I'm not saying his situation anymore. He could be traded. If he is traded, we need a backup. We have Hollywood Brown. Cool. We signed Elijah Moore this week. You know what I mean? But these aren't long-term solutions. These are just stopgap veteran guys. And we need some youth who's going to propel Devontae to be his 1A. And I'm looking at this wide receiver class. It's deep. It's really deep. It doesn't have Jamar Chase type players, but it has a lot of good B+ players in my opinion. And I'm just wondering, is now the time to hammer receiver? And I know it sounds like the kid in the candy store. I want the chocolate bar. Give me the chocolate bar. Ooh, shiny toy. But I think this might be a situation where if AJ Brown gets traded, we might want to take that receiver or go Lane Johnson replacement or go, right guard or left tackle, or, somewhere where we can get a little bit of bang for our buck and get out ahead of the money, get out ahead of the curve, and allow those old offensive players either be traded, kind of go off somewhere. What do you think? Well, from an outside perspective, what do you think the Eagles should do with the draft? Offense or defense?
Well, they're first world problems, because you don't have a problem with Jordan Davis. You don't have a problem with Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You don't have a problem with any of these guys. Problem is that they're all good. That's a good problem.
They're expensive.
And so you're not looking to ship these guys out because, they're a net negative. You're just trying to you have a limited amount of resources, and you have to spread them out the best of your ability. And so I know one thing I proposed to you earlier this offseason was potentially trading Jalen Carter. In the hypothetical that it did, I think what that looked like is, I don't think you trade Jalen Carter, but then also don't extend Jordan Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you had money on Jalen Carter getting traded, I think the Jordan Davis signing or extension was a good sign. I think there has to be some forecasting on the defensive side. Uh, the only way to kind of maintain the stability that they've had is to replace it with young, cheap talent. And I think the Eagles should strongly consider what they could get out of a Jalen Carter trade.
Interesting.
Because it's not just the draft picks, it's the cap that you don't have to spend on him.
Yeah.
And so for every dollar that you don't spend on him, it's an extra dollar to secure your secondary with two really good corners. And it's an opportunity to put that towards younger, cheaper talent. And so I think Jalen Carter is one of the best in the league, but I just think that's something that the Eagles may want to consider that they probably weren't ever really wanting to consider, just given how good he's been.
So
And
are you
the
saying?
question is, would
Yeah, I
you
was just
focus
gonna
on
say,
offense or defense? So,
yeah.
The offensive line thing, that's concerning to me. It's not even. I mean, I know Lane Johnson's the old guy, but other guys are relatively fine, like age wise.
Yeah, like
So the fact
mid
that
late
they're
20s.
talking as if they're also Lane Johnson's age too.
Yeah, they are.
So that's concerning. I mean, aren't they like 27-ish? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
like
still got a
maybe like
couple
in
years
first
for
couple
their
years
30.
into their
Yeah,
contract.
that
Yeah.
magic 30 number. To me, that's where the real wrinkle gets. Hypothetically, let's say they weren't talking about retirement. Then the answer is easy. The answer is definitely put it towards the defense. They got a lot of talent, a lot of young guys. Let's swap out one talented guy for potentially another young,
Yeah.
cheap, talented guy. Keep that going. The offense, they're solid. We know what
Are they
the
solid?
remember this hypothetical is
Oh,
the
is that the
offense.
offensive line's been healthy and performing well? Yeah.
But these comments that these guys are making, that's a huge wrinkle in all this. I'm a guy who I think you need to at least have 3 above average offensive linemen just to
Mhm.
be
Oh yeah.
confident.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it also is a lot, and it does like
It's a lot because good linemen don't become available in the free agent market, so you have to hit them in the good market.
exactly. They don't even get traded.
No.
When you get a good offensive lineman, you sign him until the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Unless you're Trent Williams, who was with Washington and accused Washington of misdiagnosing. Remember, he had like a brain tumor. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. That was insane.
Like we understand that he went to San Francisco and they got him for a 3rd round pick. The weirdness that led to that, it doesn't happen. Like these guys stay with their teams, they get paid by their teams, and then they retire with those teams, or they just get bad and then they go in free agency. You don't good offensive linemen are never available.
Yeah, I don't.
So
We traded like I think a first for Jason Peters, like from when we got him from Buffalo. Like
right,
that
but what year was that? Like
long
again,
time ago.
so far few and far in between. Like if the Cardinals right now, they might be even willing to pay a big price for a lineman. Who's willing to trade us their offensive lineman? Because now they have to go find. They'll have the same issue as we do.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. You gotta talk to these guards and centers and figure out like how serious is this? Is this podcast talk? Do you know this YouTube short video is gonna get some clicks and get people talking?
Man, I had to go to
Or is this like a
Columbia.
legit like I'm a year-to-year independent contractor at this point, and you cannot forecast anything with me. But then you don't want to draft, a premium pick just to be the guy's backup for the entirety
Exactly.
of the dude's rookie contract because Landon Dickerson or Cam Jurgens are like, I don't know if I feel like it. When
My
in the
elbow feels
reality is
funny.
they end up playing 4 more years, and that was a wasted pick. Even if it's a good player,
Exactly.
can't just slot him in. So I don't know. I mean, my investments are on the offensive side. My quarterback's the big
Yeah.
investment. The engine of the offense is through Saquon Barkley. I think the doubt in the offensive lineman's kind of making me lean towards you're going to have to put the investment in the offense. I want to put it on defense, but these comments I think are enough to change my mind on that.
Quick question before we move on to extra point. If AJ Brown gets traded, does wide receiver jump to your number one need as an Eagles fan, if you are one?
No. Personally, my philosophy is you don't need the most wide receivers. But it's not a bad thing. And I think this is more revealing of my thoughts on Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
I trust him. I think he's capable of being a wide receiver one for a team.
I do too.
And so if I feel that way, just given my philosophy, I would rather kind of pick and choose my spots here and there and go bargain bin shopping, or just go in, the draft. And I know we're talking, spend a second round pick. You can get some good wide receivers and productive guys.
Which is what this question was talking about. This is a really deep wide receiver class, so you can find talented guys in the second, third round. And cool thing about wide receivers, especially during deep classes like this, you got guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys like AJ Brown, like dudes, DK Metcalf, guys who fall to the second and third round, George Pickens, who end up
and they're not expected to be the wide receiver one. That's the other thing. They would be falling into a situation where they would be wide receiver two. And not just wide receiver two, maybe offensive skill player 4. Saquon Barkley's there. Devontae Smith is there. We got Goddard for an additional year. Like the running ability of Jalen Hurts is honestly more of an option than maybe wide receiver 2. So
not last year.
Maybe not last year.
Not last year.
The fact that we're relatively close from being removed from that as a reality. Yeah, I'm not concerned at all. I'm more concerned about the cap ramifications from losing AJ Brown. I'm not as concerned about maybe the production as much. I love AJ Brown. I think he's actually his A+ game is as good as any receivers in my opinion. I really feel
he can take over a game.
Yeah, I think he can. I think that is just as good as Justin Jefferson's A+ game, as Jamar Chase's A+ game.
That Rams comeback.
Yes,
would not have
that is what's in my head.
It wasn't because of AJ Brown. He literally just bully balled the Eagles back into the game.
I think it was the second half. The Eagles were within their own 20-yard line.
And he just called a comeback.
I think it was a third down, and it was just a routine curl or in route or something. And he's just he's catching the ball with a dude on his shoulder.
Get off me.
Throws him off. Yeah. And then he stiff arm another guy. I thought he was going 90 yards. It was an awesome play. And I'm just thinking, holy cow, not every receiver can do that.
The only problem is he couldn't always do that last year. It was a very inconsistent year. So I'm just wondering if that will be if teams will.
I wouldn't invest too high. So to answer your question, I wouldn't invest too highly on a wide receiver too. But the benefit of taking someone even say in the second round, that's a cost-controlled receiver for 4 years. You know what I mean? You take them, you set it and forget it, and you move on.
All right. Well, I hope everyone who paid attention to this draft episode learned a little bit more about offensive draft philosophy. We didn't target too much of the discussion about actual NFL, draft prospect players. We kind of only touched on like some of the top guys from some of the key positions. But the great part about what we do is that we will be back next week. And we will be talking about the defensive players. And then the next 2 weeks after that, we'll be doing mock drafts. So we'll, guess what? Be talking about more players. So if you felt like this was a pretty player light pod, that's fine. Because trust me, we have...
That means you were listening.
We have 3 more pods. We have a lot of pods on draft weekend. Haven't even really talked to you guys about that. So I think that's a good stopping point for our draft coverage. So you want to jump into the extra point?
Let's do it.
Yeah, dude.
The extra point.
All right. So my extra point this week, me and Tanner were talking earlier, and shocker, we talked before the pods, and we are actually friends. We were chatting about the flag football game that was going on completely out of nowhere this weekend, put on by Fanatics and Michael Rubin. I think it was in conjunction with USA Flag Football and the upcoming 2028 Olympics that are going to be held in Los Angeles, where flag
It's
football
now
will
an Olympic
be
sport.
it will be an Olympic sport. You may have seen the Jalen Hurts commercials where he throws a completely real football into a real goblet of fire 100 yards in the air. Um, totally not fake. Anyway, he was there. Some vets were there. Some historical players were there, namely Tom Brady. Some vets like Stephon Diggs were there. Even some current NFL greats like Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. And that, if you're an Eagles fan, should be concerning because my extra point is this: why were so many current NFL players playing flag football? I hate it. I think it's stupid. I dislocated my shoulder playing flag football. It is not a non-contact sport. Okay? It is absolutely a contact sport. I don't even care how the games went. I know a lot of the different pods are, oh, the flag football team did really good against the NFL team. Is this something to consider? I don't give a crap about how the game went. I don't give a crap. I don't want this to be in the freaking Olympics. I don't want my teams to get hurt. I don't want my players to get hurt. I just got done watching the World Baseball Classic because, I'm a Phillies fan, and I'm sick of seeing Schwarber and then Harper and then Christopher Sanchez, and then all these other players are on all these teams, and they're all ramped up in spring training, and then they get hurt. I remember a couple years ago, Edwin Diaz from the Mets tore his Achilles or patella celebrating on the mound, and he lost their biggest closer for the rest of the year. So these little fun little like competitions, like no, I'm done. I understand that you're building up to something. Okay, I kind of understand the World Baseball Classic because it is getting popular and it's like a world affair, and people really love
It's
the
not
whole
every
like.
year either, is it?
No, it's not. And every country has their own representative team. That being said, what are we doing here? I understand flag football is about to be an Olympic sport. No one's going to compete with the United States in flag football. They can throw out anyone. Just put out your backups. Like, why is Jalen Hurts out there? Why is Saquon Barkley out there? And here's the biggest issue: why are like YouTube losers out there, like trying to make content for their stupid careers? Like, I'm gonna be honest. Hey, you know what? Whatever, Logan Paul. Whatever, I show speed. Cool. You guys are like failed pseudo athletes, and you guys trick kids into making millions of dollars. Congratulations. Um, the last thing I want is for you guys to go on to YouTube and be like, "Oh, I said Jalen Hurts." Like, no, no, no. No. I'm sorry, Logan Paul. You didn't actually do anything. You're just a douche. I'm sorry. So like, you didn't do anything. Jalen probably let you sack him. Like, you really think the NFL player is trying his 100%? I know you are, you loser, but I don't think Jalen was. Okay, so like, who cares what you did on that field? I'm pretty sure Jalen doesn't. Okay, but what the problem is that when athletes don't try, what happens? They get hurt. And if they're not giving their all and they're not giving 100% and they're playing like half speed, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't want my players playing full speed in the flag football anyway. So it's a no win. It's a no win. Get them off the field. I don't need them trying to tackle them shifty little flag football players and hurting themselves trying to go down and grab a flag. My team will always be important way more than my allegiance to a country. I'm going to be honest. Like, hand up, I don't give a crap about like the United States like patriotism. Like, I don't care. Like, I do not care. Like, if Bryce Harper got hurt, if Kyle Schwarber got hurt, the average Team USA fan would go, "Oh man." Well, anyway, we have the next All-Star to replace him. But for me, that's my whole freaking summer. That's my whole freaking summer, and I don't got Bryce Harper anymore. And if Jalen Hurts, God forbid, got hurt, that's my whole freaking fall, man. Like, that's the whole season, okay? And then anyone else would, well, all right, well, we'll just plug in Lamar Jackson or something like that. We'll just put in whoever is behind him. So that's why I don't like this. I don't like this. I've never liked this. I don't like the Team USA patriotism crap because you're not real fans. You're just there for the fun, fake patriotism, and then you'll go back to work on Monday and forget anything happened while I have to live with the consequences. That's all I got. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. No flag football.
Well, one of your comments was, why are they doing it? I think there's probably an ignorance to maybe how easy it is and how safe it is. If it's that safe, then why are they wearing those like padded helmet things around their head? It's because you're risking injury. I mean, there's soft tissue issues that could come up with this, so it's not a completely risk-free event. But I almost want to talk about like the ease of which they think it is. I understand they're using the same ball. It's not the same sport. It's a
No.
completely different skill set. I think I was talking to someone earlier saying it's actually more equal to like lacrosse.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say lacrosse, yeah.
Like than it is football. The skill sets that are required. We see the little jitterbug types in the NFL, and they have a role, right? The 5'9", 180-pound guys who are just quick and fast. But you add tackling to flag football, none of those Team USA guys would be able to compete. And this isn't to dog them, but the results speak for themselves. The Team USA guys beat all of the NFL guys this weekend.
Yeah.
They scored a touchdown on every single possession in every single game. Like, it's not the same. And so, if I am patriotic, I'm actually rooting for those guys that I've never heard of because they're the good ones.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't about trying to protect the Eagles. I wish there was a Cardinal good enough, but like, I mean, if you're really just trying to win, our NFL guys aren't the best that we have to offer. And so, yeah, it's a different sport. There was that one highlight, that one receiver. I mean, he's literally like dragging on the ground.
Yeah.
And like I wake up every day, my back hurts. So I can't even like comprehend how someone's body can do that.
And it almost looked like he was playing.
But like, yeah, and it's just like that is not as impressive as it is. That is not a requirement for guys in the NFL.
I saw a video basically saying that like the direction of their hips aren't moving in the same way that a conventional NFL players does. NFL players usually go lateral when they get acceleration or try to like evade tacklers, but like they're never asked to go down or up, as much, So
No,
like their
exactly.
hips aren't dropping when they're moving with the ball. They just don't.
Well, they probably have so much more weight and muscle that it's harder to get that low. Like they probably don't have the bendability.
Whereas these guys, like you said, are like lacrosse player builds and they're skinnier and more jitterbuggy. So like they can just dip, dive, do the 5Ds of dodgeball, basically. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they just go through and just evade tackles, and those flags become very hard to tackle. And it looks like the defense or the defenders on the NFL side, they just can't even catch up with them because they're not used to either getting that low or grabbing a flag at that speed, or not even like facing someone whose hips drop like that. Like they don't have experience with that. So I feel like that, it's a different conversation we kind of turned it into. But my pet peeve is get the NFL players out of there.
And I totally like respect that opinion because at the end of the day, these guys are employees of the Eagles or the Cardinals, not the United States Federation of Flag Football or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So yeah, their loyalties should be towards the teams that are paying them. I because you asked me, well, why would teams allow that? Because I mean, there's nothing stopping you from putting it in the language in a contract. I think they did this with Drew Brees, like he couldn't go jet skiing or something. So like this idea that like they can't tame these guys. Well, no, they absolutely can. But like, why don't they enforce that? Because what is there to benefit from the Eagles' perspective? You know, they don't get to put a banner up if Team USA wins with Jalen Hurts as the quarterback.
Exactly.
And so there's probably a marketing aspect to it. Now, we're not shareholders. We don't have any financial incentive or motivation for these teams, unlike, the owners do. So we find zero value in that. It's fun, I guess, to like market your guys and stuff, especially like on a global stage. Remember, this is the Olympics, so you know how important the international presence is for the NFL these days. I mean, we just had a halftime performance in complete Spanish, so like clearly, and I think they're moving to 18 games internationally coming up. So
Yeah.
it's clearly an important part. And this isn't just a football issue. Like, this happens in hockey. This is a basketball issue. Like, it's all these sports. Um, I think it's completely fair for someone like you to say, "Look, I don't want my guys anywhere near that field."
No.
I mean, you see what Joe Burrow was doing? Oh my gosh, I can't imagine watching that as a Bengals fan, knowing he's gotten like hand injuries,
Oh no,
turf
I remember now.
toe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I remember our
he's
conversation
got
now.
all kinds of the freakiest stuff, and he's like
Yeah.
sacrificing his body for this. I can't
Yes. No. No.
imagine being a Bengals fan
Oh my
watching
God,
that.
dude. I remember the rant now when I was talking to you. Like, you talk about the worst player to be out there. It probably you can conceive, you know, it's
Mhm.
the quarterback with the most injury history, the quarterback whose team relies on him the most, the quarterback who is coming back from a current injury, or gets like kind of like rehabbing an injury that he had this year too. And he's out there playing flag football. Like, what are you doing? Like, you are just putting yourself out there, risking every Bengals fan's like hopes and dreams for something that, first off, isn't even 2 years away. Like 2 years away. Like if you're practicing for an Olympics that you may or may not even compete in. Like, how big is
If
that
he
check
tore
from
his
them?
Achilles this weekend, he's not playing this year.
Oh, if someone big tears their anything in these games, there ain't gonna be any NFL
If he
players that
tears
play
an
football
ACL,
again.
while modern medicine is greatly improved, by the time even he would be ready and like starting to ramp up, what do the Bengals look like? Are they 3-10? So like you wouldn't rush them back. Like, these are very like possible and realistic injuries that can occur.
These are careers that are not just about them. If Joe Burrow goes down, you're risking like a coach's job. You're risking like players' jobs who may not perform well without a good quarterback. Like, it's so, I don't want to even, I kind of want to say selfish. Yeah, I mean, like, it's very selfish in a way if you think about it, because like it's not just your career. Football is a team sport, and if you aren't willing to sacrifice a little bit of like off-season clout, you know what I mean, just to be on the field for like a check from Michael Rubin, who owns a lot, owns the Fanatic brand or whatever, like you're putting in jeopardy like so many people's lives and jobs for your weird patriotism. Like, I don't know what else to call this. Like, I'm flabbergasted by it. I don't like it. I understand he's like Hertz is like a spokesperson for like this whole initiative for USA flag football. I'm not looking. I mean, look, I'll watch. I'll watch like this, like the whole
Right,
freaking
out of
game.
fear,
You know what I
not
mean?
in
Like,
enjoyment.
and you know what? Let's be real. It's just an opportunity for more people to like clown on him. You know what I mean? Like, every mistake is just going to be hyper analyzed because that's what the internet does. So, I don't know. What's your extra point?
Mine's not as, depressing, I guess, or fearful. Mine was pretty simple. If you could choose one kind of food to eat forever, what would it be? It
Ooh.
could be a specific food. It could be like a specific, like, look, Mexican food,
Do
Italian
I
food.
keep my, like, will it be able to, like, satisfy my body and like it be like that the whole like, or if I choose
Yeah,
pizza,
let's
then
just
I'm
say
gonna
the
be a
main
fat ass.
concern is not the nutritional value, but rather just the appetite to want to eat it over and over.
Okay, okay. So like obviously like if it's something I wanted to be healthy, but if it's like removing like health factor out of the way, then I'll just
Let's
do
do this. I like Taco Bell, but that doesn't always make me feel good afterwards.
yeah.
And so I'm gonna say like you still get some of the
Okay. All right.
ramifications
Then
from
I'll
it,
go
but
with
like you're not gonna get. I'm not gonna let you just get like diabetes every.
yeah,
That.
yeah. Sorry, John. You have to eat candy the rest of your life. Enjoy your 5 years.
Yeah. Let's just say you
Um.
might feel bad, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh gosh, I'm gonna go with. Well, you know what? I'm assuming you've already picked one if you had the category right, or have you not picked one yet?
The one that came to my mind was Mexican food.
Ooh, does
And
that
I
count?
really,
That
I'm
sounds like a
really.
genre, like
Well,
a
hey,
style.
no, I started this by saying it could be like Mexican, Italian, whatever, or it
Oh,
could be like a
okay.
certain type of specific food. I just feel like I could always eat Mexican food. Like, I don't think
Ooh,
I've ever said like, hey, someone asked me, want to do Mexican tonight, and I'd be like, I don't know, it just doesn't sound good to me. Like, I feel like I could always eat Mexican food. And maybe it's cheating because you can have it in a burrito form, a
that's what I'm
quesadilla
saying. Yeah,
form, taco form. Maybe does it come with like the chips and salsa and the rice and the beans? So, like I'm including a lot of types of food here, but I don't know. Like Mexican food, I could always be down for. If you wanted me to pick just one dish, though, oh
yeah,
man, I mean it'd probably be in the Mexican category. You ever go to like a Mexican restaurant and get fajitas and they bring it onto like the hot skillet and it's always steaming?
yeah.
I feel like I could do that because I bring up Taco Bell always making me like feel bad afterwards. I don't know, like there's a little bit of like it's not all fried food because you got the onions and the peppers and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I could probably always do fajitas. Does that count?
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go with a classic. Something that I think will harken back to our old ECU days. I'm gonna say Moe's.
Well, that's okay. That's Southwest. That's
Yeah, I'm just gonna say Moe's. I'm gonna say
getting
burrito.
you
I'm gonna say
a
Moe's burrito.
burrito.
I really do think if you just gave me a Moe's burrito for every meal, I'd be like, all right.
But
You're getting.
hey, how could I criticize that? It's in the Mexican family. So
Yep. Yep. And it's a specific food.
okay, so why is it that we like burritos so much?
Well, I think it's ease of eating. It's high variety. You can put a lot of different things in it, a lot of different sauces, a lot of different meats, a lot of different
Like the
veggies. So
proteins can be chicken, it could be beef, it could be steak, it
yeah,
could be shrimp, it could
yeah, it could
be
be anything. You could toast them. There's a lot you can really do with a burrito. You don't
make
have
it
to, and you know what
spicy.
you can vary the sizes. You can use it as like one of those big dinner burritos where you have to cut with a knife, or you can just hold like a handheld one, or you can just do like a little bag, a little Joey bag where it's like really tiny. But like, yeah. So I like the variety of a burrito. So I think I'll go with that. Seems pretty like I don't know, pretty like cliche millennial, but I'll go with a good burrito. All right.
Can't
Well,
argue.
yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything we got for today, guys. And of course, we finished at that lovely 1 hour 30 minute mark, like we always do. We are efficient with our timing. So, as the world turns, we will see you around next week. We've been kind of spitting these out around like Wednesday. So, just be on the lookout for like middle of the week stuff. Gives us more time to react to things that might happen at the beginning of the league week. 'Cause things kind of happen like around like the beginning of the week. So, we want to react to them. But other than that, let's see. He's John. I'm Tanner. And thank you so much. I will see you next week. We'll see you next week on Birds Coast to Coast. See ya.